And welcome back to the morning show. This morning we're sitting in the offices of Aquatic Pools and Spas, and one of them talking with Bo Court this morning, and he tells me he's got a plethora of things to discuss today. Bo, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Bruce.
How are you?
Good, real good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
So what's going on with your bad self?
Actually staying busy. It's pool season.
Yeah.
We got been moving into Kingman. Dana's busy up in Kingman area. We still got a lot of pools going here. Just finished up some garage floor epoxies that we did, some garage floor stains, having a spa sale going on, so we've been busy.
Now you start talking, and this is one thing we haven't discussed, garage floor epoxies, and there's several different ways you can do that, right? You can do the pebble, you can do the shiny paint, you can do probably half a dozen different ways you can do it.
Definitely.
Is it an expensive and arduous process, or is it complete? I guess it would depend on everything you're going to do.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on like it's even tough to price things based off of a square foot. A lot of people, well, how much is it a square foot? Well,
sure.
It depends on how big the garage is, because if it's bigger, then we don't have to charge as much per square foot. If it's smaller, we may have to charge a little bit more per square foot.
Oh.
But we're doing an epoxy with a flake coat over the top of it, and then we end up doing a sealer over the top of that.
And that's impervious to like oil dripping from your car, tire tracks, or anything like that?
Definitely. And it's a true epoxy. A lot of people look at it and go, well, I can see that there's a kit down at Home Depot that I can buy and I can do this and save half the price. Well, for one, the kit that's down there, it doesn't always cover as much as what it seems like it should, especially with the amount of coats that we put down. Another thing is it's more of a paint rather than an epoxy, so the longevity of it isn't as long. The seal coat that we buy is actually a different product than the epoxy company, because we found a different sealer that works a little bit better. Just trial and error, we've gotten better at doing it. The flake coat that we put down, rather than just putting a little bit of flake down, we put a ton of flake down to where it covers the whole garage floor, scrape it up, so it almost gives kind of like a granite countertop look to it.
Okay.
And then Dana's done some different things too, where a lot of people will, if you're care enough to put an epoxy down on your garage floor, usually you don't like the cracks that run through it. So depending on the joints that are in there, we can give you a price for filling those in, also flaking those, so it just gives a nice flat impression on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Dana's really big about it. Even like last night, he was by my house and I wasn't there. My son's playing basketball in the garage or in the driveway, and Dana's telling me, he's like, you need to get in here and clean this garage floor, because it looks nice. I mean, the epoxy floor, it's like a kitchen floor. You don't want to leave your kitchen floor looking dirty.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is, there's like a dust rag that you can go over the top of it. You can mop it just a little bit. They're really easy to take care of.
And you could hose it down if you so desire.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say the wind gets in there and you got a bunch of crap laying on it.
Sure.
That's awesome.
So even like with that too, that's another thing. If you do wet it down, you got to be careful. We put a lot of flake down so that you have a little bit of texture to it, because if not, you'll go on your butt in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's probably would be slick otherwise.
Yeah, it is slick.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so when you're sitting there with your car and you're moving the steering wheel around, it's not going to go down through that epoxy. It's just going to be there for probably as long as you own the house.
The epoxy's a big part of it. The sealer's a big part of it. And then the other way that we'll do it also is we finished a real nice one that's we just did an acid stain, and then we did the sealer over the top of that.
Oh, okay.
That one turned out real nice too.
Now, then we move out to a driveway. I mean, I know you do a lot of stamping on those. You'll tear them up and you'll just put whether it be a rock-looking treatment or something to that effect. Now, are those pretty much impervious to oil stains and things like that? Do you seal coat those?
It is. The only thing that whenever you take it outside, then you got the UV rays hitting it. So we've got a sealer that'll cover the UV rays and it fights it off, but you still need to come back and reseal it.
Okay.
So whenever you put a sealer down over the top of something, especially in our climate, it has to probably be resealed every year, maybe year and a half. Well, a lot of people don't want to have to come back in and spend money to reseal it all the time. So if you just stain it, don't seal it, then 5-7 years down the road, it's going to have a gradual fade to it, but it doesn't look like the flakiness that a sealer would give you. Yeah. Now,
I had a neighbor down Laughlin Estates that had these old beaters. I mean, he had Lincolns parked in his driveway and old Cadillacs and whatnot, and they were oil leakers, and it's a regular concrete driveway. And then after a few years of that, and he had some horrific, ugly stains right in the middle of the driveway, he brought in some people to do some type of coating over the top of it. And I swear, over a year's period, they were back there 3 times because it was pulling up, et cetera, because apparently they couldn't get the oil up out of the concrete. At that point, you're almost, if you really want to do something, you almost have to pull that concrete out and realize.
Well, that's just it. Or you really rough up the texture. That's one thing when we do go also in to do a garage floor, we don't just clean the floor and then come in there and put the epoxy right over the top.
Oh.
We actually take grinders, hand grinders, that are like on like a 7-inch wheel to get in the close corners. We also have a walk behind machine that'll scarify it so that it takes it up.
It's got a place to set in.
It just makes it bite better.
Right.
Yeah. So like even those garage floor epoxies that you can buy at Home Depot, obviously you're not getting the grinder going over the top of the concrete and exposing that aggregate a little bit so that the epoxy bites.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. And then the other thing that probably if it was outdoors on a driveway, it's more like an overlay. And then whenever you do an overlay, the same thing. It's only as good as what the material is that's underneath it. So if it's got oil stains and stuff on it, it wasn't degreased or grinded off, it's not going to bond.
So you don't necessarily have to pull that concrete slab up. You can do some things.
Not necessarily. You wouldn't have to, unless it's really embedded to the point that you'd have to grind it down so bad that you'd have a dip in it or something.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a million things you can do.
Tons of different things. And we've learned. I mean, we've done it ourselves. I've been in my driveway 7-8 years ago, and I'm acid staining it, and it looked like I acid stained it, you know, for the first time. So we've got guys that have done thousands of square feet of driveways, pool decks, garage floors, and we've learned the better products and the better materials, and makes for a better turned out.
I've noticed too a lot of the driveways, and I hope you don't mind me sticking to this driveway thing. I'm relating some of it to my issues. My driveway, which is perfectly clean, has no oil stains in it whatsoever. A long driveway, however, as the ground around it settles, I'm starting to, of course, it's got the expansion cracks in it.
Yeah.
But there's other little cracks now starting to show up in it. Those, you guys can take care of that.
Well, like with that is one thing with cracks. We'll tell people if you've got cracks in the driveway, we can end up putting filler in them. We can do everything to the point of putting like a mesh over the top of it. We just can't guarantee that they're not going to come back. The only thing we can guarantee is if you want to have it fixed completely, have us go ahead and bang it out.
Yeah.
We'll re-pour it, and then we'll do whatever overlay or stain work or whatever you want on top of that.
Okay. So you can get a concrete slab blade without worrying about having the darn thing crack in a few years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you got to have the expansion joints, and if everything works out perfect, you can't guarantee against cracks completely, but if you take all precautions, don't pour when it's windy out, that sort of thing.
Well, these expansion joints are like 10 feet wide by 15 feet long. They just weren't close enough.
Yeah, they just weren't close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see
Makes
that
a
a
difference.
lot.
So, your driveway education today and your garage education been brought to you by Aquatic Pools and Spa, and Landscape, I should say. But not only are they available to work on and check out your garage and your driveways, but certainly backyards, pools, spas, and you've seen some of the things that they've done on the show. It's just absolutely amazing. And is it too late for people to get their pool done by summer?
No, we just signed 3 pools last week. Actually, we signed 4 pools last week. Dana had another one up in Kingman.
Great.
And the dates on all of those depends on the size of the project, obviously, but the first 2 or 3 were 5 weeks, and then the one that he has a pretty elaborate project, so it's going to be about 10 weeks on that one. But yeah, we can definitely get them knocked out.
Right, I mean, 10 weeks is nothing. You're right there coming into summer when that happens.
Yeah, exactly.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice.
So all they need to do is call?
Just call.
And you'll check it out.
We'll get you done.
And the beautiful thing of this all is they'll come over, they'll take a look, they'll take pictures, they'll build a CAD design for you, show you exactly what it's going to look like, tell you exactly how much it's going to cost. You make the determination if you want the tree here, you want it here, if you want the light here, if you want it here, if you want sprinklers. They'll take care of that for you. You take a look at it. No big surprises. When they're done in this office, before they go to work, you know everything about the job, and it will come out looking just like it did on that CAD design, only 1,000,000 times better, because you know why? Then you can get in the pool. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having us down. Aquatic Pools and Landscape, ladies and gentlemen, right here in Fort Mojave. Phone number's on your screen. Give them a call today. We'll be back with more of the morning show right after this.